I've got a concrete wall headed straight for me, or I guess I was headed straight for it, but that's not how it felt. The car's going meh, meh, meh. I was going to crash into the wall head on. And I thought to myself, well, this is gonna hurt. Today I want to talk to you about when life throws you in a ditch. The ditch is one of my most favorite topics to talk to any of my guests about. And I'm going to tell you one of my ditch stories today. So if you've heard very many of my episodes, you know that one of my favorite questions to ask almost every guest, or really anybody that I talk to, is about the moment in life when they were at their lowest moment of despair, at what I call the ditch of despair, when they were so far down in the ditch that they thought they wouldn't see tomorrow. How they crawled out of the ditch, and whether they crawled out with their own effort, whether they had help in crawling out, what's the wisdom that they learned along the way to climbing the ladder of success to the pinnacles of success that they've achieved. I'm fascinated by all of the stories that I've heard from people about their ditch of despair to the destiny of success stories, and all the things that people learn from those stories. Well, one day recently, I was leaving a brunch for the wedding of a friend of mine, and I found myself in a ditch. I was entering the highway after it had been raining very hard, and my car started to hydroplane. I've never had a car hydroplane in this way before. My all four tires felt like they were literally on glass, like literally off the ground. Immediately, I kicked in with my defensive driving or whatever. I thought, okay, hands on the wheel, hands on the steering wheel, foot off the gas, slow the car down. I wasn't going that fast because I had just entered the highway. So slow the car down, hands on the wheel. I was driving an all-wheel drive car, so I knew that probably one of these tires would catch traction. And I told myself, I'm going to be okay. This is going to be okay. Well, then all of a sudden, about the time I thought I had traction, I guess the car kind of tried to take over and help me because it's a newer kind of fancy car like that. And the back right of the car just spun out from under me, and the car kind of spun to the right, and then it felt like it accelerated across all four lanes of traffic. And the next thing I know, I've got a concrete wall headed straight for me, or I guess I was headed straight for it, but that's not how it felt. And every alarm, every bell and whistle in this car is making sounds. The car's going meh, 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 because like this wall is headed for me. And I knew with certainty in that nanosecond, what felt like a minute, but it was a nanosecond, that I was going to crash into the wall head on. And I thought to myself, well, this is going to hurt. Now I must have braced. I probably hit the brake. I must have braced my hand. And then the impact happened. And then my car continued to spin around. I did at least one 360. I may have done two. I did not collide with any other cars by some miracle. Because it was a Sunday morning, there wasn't a lot of traffic out. I ended up facing straight forward the way you should be facing in the third lane of the 4-lane highway. And then all I could see was cars just zipping by me. But of course, my car was inoperable. It would not go anywhere. My airbags had deployed. The center airbag had deployed, and apparently I had a knee airbag. It deployed. I couldn't move. My glasses had come off my head. I couldn't find those. My cell phone had flown off somewhere. I didn't know where it was. I literally was just stuck in my car with the traffic whizzing around me. I couldn't get out. And then all of a sudden I hear what I'll call the God of the car, the phone voice that's inside the car, come on and ask me if I was okay, because the car indicated that I'd been in a wreck. And the car called 911 for me. I remember that some good Samaritan stopped to block the traffic from whizzing around me and checked to make sure I was okay. Then I had to do the self-assessment. And in that moment, the only thing I could think of was the childhood song of head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And so I'm going like head, my head's okay, shoulders, okay, knees, yeah, toes, yeah, my toes are wiggling, my fingers, elbows, like, so I was kind of singing the head, shoulders, knees, and toes song in my head, making sure that I was okay in the self-assessment. And I was I remember being a little surprised that I was okay, because I knew that I just had a head-on collision with a concrete wall. And I was pretty surprised that I was okay. I remember one of the first things I did was reach for my face, reach for my nose, because I knew the center airbag had gone off right in my face. And I assumed that I was gonna head plant into the airbag, but I apparently didn't. My nose wasn't bloody, my nose wasn't broken, like I didn't have any indications of any injury. The next thing I knew, the police were there. I'm standing on the side of the road, it's raining again, and the police are assessing, whether I've hit anybody, was it a one-car accident, what has happened, and I'm trying to answer their questions. They had to find my phone, find my purse, find my glasses so I could even see them. As it turned out, the only injury I had was a burn on my hand that I guess was a chemical burn from the airbag deploying, which I guess I'm thankful for the burn on my hand, because I apparently covered my face with my hand, so the airbag burned my hand, not my face. But I remember standing on the side of the road in shock, with the police officer asking where I was going to go. And since I was out of town, I wasn't real sure. And I finally went back to the restaurant where my friends had been at, so that somebody could help me and take me to the airport and so I could fly home. But I was standing on the side of the road in shock, and I could hear David Meltzer's voice in my head saying, well, you're either humble or you're about to be. And in that moment, I knew that this was one of those moments that I was in a ditch, and I was gonna have to crawl out of a ditch and figure some things out. And if I wasn't humble in that moment, then I was about to be, because I just had a head-on collision with a wall. And sometimes that happens, right? Sometimes you're driving along and you think everything is good, you've got this, no problem, you've driven highways all your life, and then some hydroplaning happens, and the next thing you know, you're head on into a wall. I believe that life will throw you into a ditch if you think that you are untouchable. I believe that humility isn't weakness. Humility keeps you strong and sharp when life throws you curveballs. And I believe that the ditch is not defeat. You can use the ditch to redesign and rise stronger. So out of the lesson that I was taught by life, putting me on the side of the road in the proverbial ditch, I learned 3 things. One of those is that the ditch is a wake-up call. Whenever you think that life is going along just fine, and when you think that you've got this and that you're getting on life's highway just fine, life is gonna humble you, and life is gonna humble you real dang fast. Life is going to shake up your comfort zone, and your certainty is fragile. You think everything is certain. You think that your foundation is solid, but what you're going to find is that your foundation is fragile, because life is going to do this. Life is going to throw you curveballs. Life is going to give you a wake-up call. It is actually more a certainty that life is going to give you a wake-up call than that life is a certainty. I mean, that's just the way life is. Life is going to throw you curveballs. That is a certainty. You don't get to dictate every outcome. You don't get to be certain of the outcomes. What you get to be certain of is that there is no certainty. You get to be certain that you are not in charge. And that if you have been coasting, you better get ready. Because there's blind spots, there's curves, there's bumps, there's obstacles, and it's all going to come at you whenever you least expect it. Lesson number 2, either you're humble or you're about to be. Pride can be blinding. If you are prideful, if you think that you've got it all figured out, you are blind. Humility is actually the thing that can clear your vision. Humility is the thing that lets you scan for the warning signs. Like, you're the one that's like looking all across the horizon. You're looking for things, you're scanning, you're looking for the things that could be the bumps and the bruises and the obstacles and the water puddles that are going to cause you to hydroplane. You're looking to see if the coast is clear with humility, because you're not sitting here thinking you've got it all figured out. With humility, you know that you can learn from the warning signs, you can learn from the lessons of others, you can learn from things that other people are trying to tell you. Because if you don't learn from the lessons of others, you're going to learn the hard way. And that is the guarantee, in David Meltzer's words: you're either humble or you're about to be. The third lesson that I learned is that the ditch of despair, the ditches in life, those are actually opportunities. Like, if you have a growth mindset, you can look at the ditch as being the worst in life, or you can look at the ditches as being opportunities for growth. The ditch is an opportunity to stop, to think, to pause. You can use the ditch to redesign what you're going to do next. You can use the ditch to become more aware, to take stock of where you're at, where you've been, how you got in the dang ditch. How'd I get here? What mistakes did I make? How did I screw up that landed me back in this ditch? Like, I've been here before and I don't want to do this again if I can avoid it. So what did I do that I could avoid in the future that landed me here? How can I decrease my pride and increase my clarity to stay out of this ditch in the future? I may get in a different ditch, but I don't want in this one again. Use the ditch as the opportunity to get back to the basics. Maybe you got overcomplicated. So maybe you need to get back to the basics so that you can rebuild stronger, smarter, and more resilient in the future. The ditch is where the redesign happens. The ditch is where you get to take the stock and figure it out and redesign what you want to be in the future. And the redesign leads to the destiny, and the destiny leads to the success. So the ditch is not the end. The ditch actually leads to the comeback. You can come back stronger. You can come back sharper. You can come back wiser. And you can come back more powerful. Wisdom is one of my favorite things because you can be experienced. Experience is just having gone through the thing before, right? But wisdom is where you've gone through the thing and you've learned the lessons from it so that you don't go through the thing again because you learned from it. You want to have the experience. And when you learn from somebody else, or you hire a person, or you look to a coach or a mentor, right? You want somebody with experience, but you know what you want more is you want somebody with wisdom. So through going through the ditch and evaluating why you're there and how you got there and what are the lessons you're learning, and taking that opportunity to gain from the ditch, my favorite thing I gain from ditches is wisdom. The wisdom to learn from the ditch, the wisdom to learn from the opportunity that the universe has given you to be back in a ditch again, so that you gain wisdom to not ever get back in that ditch. And so that you can teach other people the wisdom you gained from that ditch so that they don't end up in that ditch again. I was very fortunate that I had a great car that protected me, that despite having a very unfortunate circumstance and having hit a concrete wall head on, the wreck didn't physically affect me much, but it did humble me. It did humble me. You know, the life lesson from that is that the ditch isn't just where you crash. The ditch is where you wake up. The ditch is where you redesign. The ditch is where you shape your new destiny. So when life tosses you in the ditch, don't fight it. Don't waste it. Use it. Use it as the opportunity to change everything. Because you're either humble or you're about to be, says David Meltzer. So use the ditch to design your destiny.